Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. It's me, it's Trent, it's Dr. David Walton. He goes by Wally.
Nailed it.
Oh, your boy crushes it. Your boy crushes it. Man, he's the mastermind behind TF Voodoo. He's been in academia for 10 years. He works for a whole bunch of agencies that have a whole bunch of letters, but I'm going to let him tell the story. Wally, what's up, brother? Tell us who you are.
Hey, Aaron. Thanks for having me. So my name is Wally. I'm online. My online persona is TF Voodoo. I'm a pretty prominent poster on Reddit, and I've got an Instagram account with about 3 followers, both my parents and somebody else.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it's working out pretty well. So going to monetize it soon. So I'm a retired Army Special Forces officer, Green Beret. I did about 20 years on active duty. Started in 1993. Was served in the 7th Special Forces Group when they were here at Fort Bragg, which is where I'm at now. I did mid-career at JSOC, and I retired out of the Special Warfare Center in school, where I got a little exposure to Special Forces assessment and selection. And I've turned that into a little cottage industry of helping guys prepare for SFAS in my second career here, post academia. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
That's awesome. So when you time in, like we always ask, our niche of folks that we're talking to, right in your wheelhouse, right? Like it's folks that know they want to do something big, they just don't know what it is, and we'll bring on an Army officer every once in a while. Like we'll let you have some of the B-level candidates, right? We need the A-level candidates.
I got to church the place up a little bit. Yeah, so we are in the same space, right? I probably got into this business the same way you guys did. You grew up young and you played outside and skinned your knees and drank out of a hose, and you knew you wanted to do something cool, something commando, like you wanted to dive into a body of water with a knife in your teeth, and you were like, how the fuck do I do that? Like where is that in the world? And they got rid of pirates, so you can't do that anymore.
Right.
And we figured out, hey, there's this thing called the military, but it's full of military junk. So if you want to do something really cool, you got to do special operations. And you got to think now, I came back when I came on active duty, it's 1993. I'm pre-internet, brothers. I was coming through when there was no information about anything. So I knew I wanted to do something cool, and I had no idea how to do it. I was like, I think I could do that in the Army. I'm going to join the Army. So I became a tanker, and I did tank stuff, shooting the big guns and all that. And was, in my mind, in my distant mind, I knew I wanted to do this commando stuff. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know what it looked like. I didn't know how to apply. I didn't know what to do to train. I was just like out there free balling it. And I kind of stumbled my way into it. And I had a fairly successful career. I got a pretty cool shadow box over there on the wall. It's got all the cool guy badges and everything. And when I retired in 2013, I went into academia. So I was an operations guy my whole career. All I did was operations stuff. And my very last tour in the Army, I got into education. I was stationed at the Special Warfare Center in school, which is what we call, it's our SWIC, as opposed to your guys' SWIC. And it's the
our
schoolhouse.
SWIC is fake. It's okay. Our SWIC doesn't exist anymore.
I'm with you. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. I think ours is kind of fake sometimes too. So, but that it's our schoolhouse. It's who runs all of our assessment selections, all of our qualification courses, all the advanced skills, combat dive, free fall, all that business. And when I was there at our SWIC, I got charged with a couple of big projects. And one of those projects was education. We had to develop an education program, and I was an operations guy, so I had to go get smart. So I went off and got my doctorate. And the other thing that I did, I know, right? I did just a side project, right?
A little side quest. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And this other thing I did was I got to oversee Special Forces assessment and selection, which was a bit of a homeless entity back then. And so I got into this study of assessing and selecting guys. I helped sort of refocus SFAS back then. This is like 2011 timeframe. We were sort of reassessing got to think about, we've been at war for now 10 years. And just like all the special operations forces, we were reckoning with, are we producing what the operational force needs us to produce? So, are we assessing guys correctly? Are we training them correctly? And so we were sort of going through that review process, and that's when I was in charge. And so I got to be part of that. And I got to see sort of the behind the curtain for how we assess and select candidates, and then continue on to train them. And then I retired, went into academia. I got to use my degree, and I continued studying it. I wrote my dissertation on selection. I selected as my special area of emphasis for research. And I spent, 10 years deeply studying it as an academic. So I had about 10 years of studying it from the operational side, 10 years as an academic. And then I got into this online discussions about how we prepare guys. So my preparation, no internet. Now the internet's everywhere. The problem is the internet's everywhere. So every idiot on the planet has access to it, and every idiot's got an opinion, and they're mostly uninformed. You guys have probably seen. I mean, this is probably why you guys are in this space.
No, we're the guys with the uninformed opinions, man. We just have the loudest voices. Yeah, we just got into this before anybody else, and now we own the space. So what are the misinformation?
So you're part of the problem. You are why I exist. You're the disease. I'm the cure.
Hey, hold on. Let's give us a little bit of respect. We're not a problem. We're the
problem.
Okay, we're the unofficial Air Force podcast. So how about you put some respect on the name, Doc?
Respect. Yeah. No. So I that's when I started getting into this space, and I realized that there was a ton of dudes out there that were asking questions. These are young kids looking to make their mark in the world, test their mettle, and they're asking questions and they can't get good answers. And and part of that is our problem. The operational forces. We don't want to tell guys what's going to go on. We don't want to give up the standard, right? Totally valid, totally reasonable position to have. But when you aren't giving the truth, the lies shall take over. And that's what we saw with SFAS. And dudes are just out there like just talking all kinds of crazy crap. Oh, you got to run, 4-minute miles and swim underwater with your ruck, over your head and they won't pick guys that don't have Ranger tabs and all this nonsense. And I'm being a little hyperbolic there, but the reality of it is that was the story, is that, if you don't have combat, if you're not a combat arms or a Ranger, you're not going to get selected. If you don't run, lightning speed, you're not going to get selected. If you're not a white guy, you're not going to get selected. And I had this inside knowledge. I helped build the current version of selection. And I've been studying it forever. And I said, man, I can't let those lies go on. So I started doing the research about what can I talk about? Because I signed a non-disclosure agreement. I'm not going to give away all the secrets. I'm certainly not going to give away the standards. So I started doing a bunch of research and deciding what is it that I can tell? What can guys get that'll combat some of this misinformation? And it turns out there's quite a bit. SWIC has sponsored many academic studies, like full-blown, peer-reviewed, nerd, full of citation studies, like legit academic studies. But when they write the results of that, they look like full-on nerd, full of citations, academic studies. Nobody wants to read that shit. But they also have a fairly robust social media presence. They've sponsored some really cringy documentaries. There's one called 2 Weeks in Hell. It's like the most. I can't tell you how many times guys will cite that and be like, I know what selection is like because I watched 2 Weeks in Hell. It's like, okay, you probably know exactly what Buds is like because you watched Navy SEALs with Charlie Sheen. So that's about how much you know.
That was a documentary.
That's right.
When the pagers went off at the wedding and they had to jump over the bridge to get over, to get off, out of the moving car. 100%.
That's how I got to work on Friday. Just like that.
Absolutely. That's what they call Frogman Friday. It happens every day on Coronado.
That's right.
That's right. What my playlist looks like. That's weird.
That's right.
We had Inside Combat Rescue, so we feel you. There's always those things that are like, wow, you showed the smallest part of one of the missions of whatever, and then people were like, oh, this is what you need to do, brothers.
And the crazy thing about 2 Weeks in Hell is that that was at the one. So selection, SFAS has been around since 1988 officially, and it's essentially unchanged. It's the same 3 weeks, set up the same way. We test almost the exact same things since its inception. There's been a couple of minor changes. But except for that, there was a very short period, about 6 to 8 months, where we tried this experiment, 2 Weeks in Hell. And that happens to be when the Discovery Channel film crew's there. And that gets what's recorded for all of history. Dude doing log and rifle PT, thrown up in the mulch, having to put the vomit in his pocket, pick it up, put it in your pocket. It's like, brother, that ain't selection. That is so far from selection. You can't even see it from where selection really is. So that's the enduring model of what guys think of. So I said, man, we can do better than this. We're a professional force. Let me start talking about what we can do. And I started doing that online, and I turned that all into a book. Last year, about a year ago, I published a book called Ruck Up or Shut Up. It's the comprehensive guide to SFAS. Tells guys exactly what the framework is. I'm not going to tell you what the standards are, but I'll tell you what the framework is. Sort of the myth and the culture and the lore. And a little bit about how to prep guys. So I published that last year, and it's done very, very well. I've sold more copies than about twice as many copies of as number of guys that have gone to selection in that same time. So clearly there's dudes out there looking for information.
Well, and Wally,
yeah.
Can I go back a little bit? You keep trucking along, and I'm like, I want to hit the brake.
I'm with you. I'm a talker. You got to tell me to shut up.
No. I have questions about. So when you first got the job to rework SFAS, and you got your doctorate, and you have experience, and you have the way things always have been. How did you go in there and kind of mesh all of those things to create something that is actually worthwhile?
Man, that's the ultimate question, right? Like nobody wants a leader to come in and take over and just start wholesale changing stuff. So I was very fortunate that the company commander, I was a lieutenant colonel at the time. The company commander was a major, and he had a sergeant major, an E9. Senior guys, very smart. They happen to be particularly smart guys, and have gone on to do amazing things post military. I just listened. I stayed. I let the cadre. The military is an NCO driven organization, particularly so in SOF. So if you want to make changes or reinforce culture, if you don't want to make any changes, you got to have buy-in from the non-commissioned officers. I recognize that. I'm not going to come in as one of the 3 officers in an organization and totally change the organizational culture. And quite frankly, it didn't need change. And the organizational culture was and remains very, very strong. So what did I do? I listened. I watched and I listened, and I let those NCOs, they got to figure it out on their own. So Green Berets are probably a lot like Air Force special operators, very strong-headed. Can't tell me nothing, can't show me nothing. In order for them to understand something, they have to break it and then put it back together. So you kind of got to let them sort of play with it, right? Like that's what we all are. We call that autism, and we're all on the spectrum.
Jesus,
right. I'm convinced every special operator is clearly on the spectrum. I think we select for it. So I didn't do anything. I just watched and listened and had them tell me, here's what we think the problems are. And I could validate them based on my academic credentials, although I didn't need those. Quite frankly, you just had to be a smart person, or you didn't have to be a smart person. You just had to think like a smart person. So I just watched them and let them break it and tell me why it worked and what didn't work. And that's all I did. So we introduced a couple of small, I don't know, say updates, but we didn't change anything. Because it worked already. The difference is that before this process, we didn't know why it worked. We knew that it worked. We set the selection up, but we didn't know why it worked. We had sort of lost that institutional knowledge for why do we do these events? What things are these events testing? So when I was in charge of it, the process was, let's figure out why we are doing those things. So that's what we did. And once we learned that, guys started realizing, oh, here's the value in these events. And when you do that as an organization, you start to create the culture around that professionalism of, we do these things for a reason. We don't just do them because we want to scuff guys up on the pool deck. Like, that's cool. I love scuffing dudes on the pool deck. But we got to know why we're scuffing them on the pool deck. So that's kind of what we did. And what the selection that they run today is virtually identical to what we ran 30 years ago when the very first class went through SFAS.
Well, it's hard during the middle of GWAT. I think everything was speeding, right? Like, everybody, you go through the pipeline, you deploy a few times, you come back as an instructor, the next guy is out the door to go deploy again. You know what I mean? Like, everybody just kind of didn't have the time that we had pre-GWAT, it seems like, to really sit in there, get that mentorship, understand why it is you're doing what you're doing. So we had to kind of go back. I think everybody had to do this, is relearn the same things that we institutionally knew before.
Yep.
And then we all kind of came to the exact same conclusion, but now we know why again.
That's exactly right. And where we did make a lot of changes was the qualification course, the Q course. We made quite a few changes. So the normal model, when you select a special operator, I think this is universal, but this is certainly the way it was for Green Berets, was you select a guy relatively young, although a little bit more mature. For Green Berets, you got to be at least 21 before you go to selection. There was a couple of years there where you could come in a little younger. Got to be at least 21. By the time you get to a team, you're 23, right around there. You do a couple years on a team. You come in as a junior guy. You have a senior assigned to you. And the way an ODA is structured, you've got 4 main MOSs, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo, weapons, engineer, communications, and medic. And you have a senior guy and a junior guy. And the junior guy come on the team, and he would literally have a senior dude who was his assigned mentor, and he was going to train him up the whole time. And it would be, you'd spend 4 or 5 years under that guy, maybe doing some JSET deployments, some training and all that. I mean, but you got one-on-one, like a dude standing over you, telling you what was good and wasn't bad, and what was bad. And that rang true for all the skills, all the knowledge, all the attributes, everything. Well, then think about the GWAT hits, and now guys are coming to a team and they're like the next week deploying to Iraq or Afghanistan. Like there was no time for mentorship. So we were literally in the middle of a war. So what happens is the operational force goes back to SWCC and says, hey, I don't have time to train these guys in combat lifesaver before we send them downrange. Add combat lifesaver to the Q course. Okay. I'm going to add 2 weeks of combat lifesaver. What am I taking out of the Q course? Hey, I need guys to have marksmanship training. And the old qualification course had no marksmanship training. So guys, they were saying, because the idea was I'm going to go to a team. My team sergeant will take me to the range. Will get me all schooled up. Well, then the GWAT hits, guys are deploying. They don't have time to train medic. They don't have time to train marksmanship. They got to deploy. So we start adding all this stuff into the queue, and it's not a zero-sum game. The queue doesn't go on in ad infinitum. Something's got to come out. What came out was all the planning. So the queue course did change quite a bit.
What time frame was that?
This is starting right away. This is probably 2000, right when the surge started. So 2003, we're fighting in 2 wars. Changes start happening immediately. I would say they were happening in earnest about 04, 05. And I didn't get to the pipeline to manage it until 2009, 2010. So.
Well, that's perfect, because I want to kind of ask like how you were feeling on the outside. We have obviously the most people that listen to us are folks that are looking to try to get into the Air Force or Air Force Special Operations. But a second niche, which we love talking to all the time, are the guys in the career field that are pretty far away from the selection area. They don't know what's going on, so they kind of use us as a conduit. We have to deal with their big feelings about stuff that they don't understand all the time. Like that's a shot at my bros. I'm telling you right now, like they have no idea what's going on. They see something that we say, and then we have to deal with like angry, upset messages from these dorks from like 2 weeks until they understand what's going on.
Yeah.
As a guy that was the angry, upset dork on the outside, when you were busy deploying and going on JSETs and working out a 7th group, looking at the selection enterprise change, how did that make you feel? Like, what was your perception before you went back to selection?
It's universal, brother. It is the same thing that everybody thinks. I went to the last hard class. They're giving it away now. They're totally fucking it up. They're just no standards. Sign for your 2 court. Here's your beret. Like I get it. Everyone thinks that's universal. That is what we call human nature. We all believe that. And I believe the same thing. I remember when they brought back, so we have a program called the 18 X-ray program. It's our, from the street into the seat, recruiting in without any prior experience. And that's an old program that actually used to 6 years ago. It was called the SF Babies program. And we had that for a long time and it went away.
You guys
SF
called it
Babies.
SF Babies? What the branding?
I know, right? Right. I know. And like
t-shirts now.
We live right next door to the PSYOP guys. Like we can do better than that.
You can't. We couldn't find some better piece of propaganda. Come on, guys.
And guys wore that with a badge of pride, hey, I'm an SF baby. And because that's all I ever did. It's all I ever learned. So that went away for a couple of years. And then when it came back in like 02, 03, the SF 18 X-ray program came back, and the immediate reaction was they're giving it away. Like these guys are too young. They're a liability, all that business. And there is some truth to that. Like if you think about it, if I get a guy who has no experience, then he has no experience. I'm counting on him to come into it with a little bit of life experience. He's got to be a little bit better. He's got to be a little more fit, a little smarter, have a little more common sense to him. And for the most part, the first couple of years of when we rebuilt the 18 X-ray program, they were a little bit older. We did have guys that were 26, 27 coming in, and the GWAT kicked off a level of patriotism that was unknown prior to that. So it was okay for a while, but immediate our thought was, oh, they're giving it away. So everyone thought that, and then 2 Weeks in Hell comes out, and it's the most cringy shit you've ever seen. I mean, it's embarrassing. It's just horrible. And then that paired with a Discovery Channel special about the qualification course as well. And they picked like the nerdiest freaking nerd you could imagine. I swear to God, he had an asthma attack on camera, and it was like, what are we doing here? Like they're just giving it away at SWCC. So that was the narrative. Your default position is, if it's not me running it, it's effed up. So we're that's the way it always is. And then they made a couple of minor changes, and that's what it was.
Do you guys actually do that in between schools too? Because I hear these things like, man, Trent and I are just laughing on the back channel while we're talking to try to make sure we don't step over you. We are laughing because this is everything that we went through for our entire when I was at the schoolhouse, at the pararescue schoolhouse from 2015 to 2019. We completely rewrote our course. ANS was going through its complete and total revamp after the Women in Service review, and then we completely revamped. Like Trent was at the forefront of rewriting his career field stuff while the ANS course was going on. Like all the parallels here. So do your instructors do that at different schools?
These are universal truths. They occur everywhere.
They are
absolutely everywhere.
I'm like, you know what? We're not going over any new information, but I've never been more excited to bitch with a friend about how bad it is everywhere.
There is nothing new under the sun. These are universal human truths. Everyone thinks they're giving it away. All that is just. And so what happens is I was just like the guys you're dealing with. I thought, oh man, it's all fucked up. They're giving it away. I'm going to come in and I'm going to save the whole thing. And I was in a position where they were like, well, literally the commanding general was like, you're in charge now. I was like, oh shit. Like I was talking all that shit before. Now I'm not
going to save.
I gotta be right now. And what I discovered was, like I said, the Q course was actually really, really good. Like it was the Q course. I'm sorry, the SFAS. SFAS is really, really good. It does exactly what we designed it to do. And here's the reality is that everyone likes to think that their selection is special. The SAS like to think that theirs is special. Delta Force likes to think theirs is special. The SEALs like to think theirs is special. They are all built on the exact same framework. I literally have a paper right here. What a nerd I am. This is the paper I'm working on right here. And it is the sort of the origins of mission critical team assessment and selection. Like, so it's the same for any high performing organization. NASA to down to Green Berets and everybody in between, all the way over to NFL and C-suite executives. We all follow the exact same framework. So, because there's only so many ways to skin a cat, and so our experiences are universal. You and I could walk into a bar together. It's probably a gay bar with you guys, but we walk into a bar together.
Hey, first and foremost, you couldn't get in there. You're not good looking enough, dickhead. And second of all, officers aren't allowed to play around with the enlisted anyway. So you can take that smart ass talk and go to your chief's mess.
I'll prefer it. I prefer it that way.
I bet you're just jealous. I get so many free drinks in there. It's insane.
You guys are the kings of bottoms up, I'm certain. So
hilarious.
But we could walk into a bar together and we would share war stories. And other than the fact that we were in totally different services doing totally different jobs, they'd be exactly alike, right? Because these are universal human truths. So all the guys and for, I don't know how it is in the Air Force, but in the Army, special operators avoid going back to the pipeline. They don't want to be part of the generating force. It's seen as a less than experience, right?
Because you're not deploying, right? Like you're supposed to be this badass deploying guy. You're supposed to be deploying. You're not supposed to be a teacher. You're supposed to be a deployer, right?
But good organizations, really powerful organizations like special mission units, they actually take their best guys and put them in charge of assessment, selection, and training. Because those are the dudes that they think about. That's when you inculcate the culture of the organization, of the career field, into those guys. So you better have the best guys doing it. So what happens is you create this divide. You have guys that are in the generating force that couldn't get out of it. So they're probably not the top guys. And then you have the top guys in the field who are complaining because they know who they sent from the unit back to the generating force to run assessment selection. We have mostly beat that in SF. The guys that run SFAS are really, really good. And it's not seen as quite the career killer that it used to be. But that bias still exists. There's still dudes out there, and they're the dudes that are calling you and texting you and complaining and saying, you two clowns are giving up the ghost and they're handing out berets, every day.
I feel so good, Trent.
I remember one time, we were sending a guy to go be an instructor, and everybody, like, because I got back to the operational side, and everybody's coming to me being like, "Oh, you just came from there. Like, should he really be going there?" I'm like, "Absolutely not. He's not the guy. Like, he's a good dude, but like, not the guy to go to this place to be an instructor." Right. Then it's like, well, how many of you chuckleheads volunteered? How many of you super fit dudes volunteered to go back and run students for 4 years and crush yourself to do that? It's like, well, Zero
Listen,
of us.
man,
Zero.
I want to get one more deployment. I want to be able to
Yeah.
do that. Like, it's hilarious. Like,
And guys think that going back to the generating force, going to the schoolhouse is a break, man, brother. It is not a break. Like, you are busting your balls all the time, and the pressure that, because we're all type A personalities, we all want to get shit done. We put immense pressure on ourselves. So, like, I am not going to let the teams down. Like, I know what I'm producing. I'm not going to F this up. So like, we put this tremendous pressure on ourselves. It's not a break. And so it's incredibly frustrating. So you create this negative feedback loop between the operational force and the generating force. And the reality of it is that we have to think about this. Like, who the fuck do I think I am that the Green Berets that are back at Fort Bragg, out at Camp McCall, running selection, running the Q course, who the fuck do I think I am that I'm this much better than them? Like I'm the product of the exact same system. Those dudes are not, I mean, they're autistic, but they're not full blown retards. So right. I have to have a little bit of element of institutional trust in those guys. Like, hey man, like they're probably smart guys. They're probably trying to do the right thing. I don't understand all the pressures they have. They've got multiple bosses, many masters they have to work for. Who do I think I am that I have it all figured out when I have no idea what they're dealing with? So that's the reality. So that's that eternal conflict between the operational force and the generating force. I've seen it from both sides. I spent my entire career until my last 3 years in the Army in the operating force. I came back to the generating force and I was like, oh, holy shit, these guys really have it figured out. Like they're doing it really, really well. They may not communicate that effectively. But that's the reality. And the really hard part for SFAS is that, the only guys that tell the story of SFAS are the guys that fail. So do you think they're biased? Do you think they have a real understanding of why they failed? And do you think they want to admit that I failed because I couldn't do XYZ task? No, they say, oh, I failed because I had instructor roulette and they just didn't like me. It's like, well, no, that's not true. So
that's not true at all. Right.
So that's exactly what the first book was about. Was like, hey, listen, you're going to come and we're going to fucking kick you straight in the crotch for 21 days, but we're going to do it fairly. Everyone gets kicked the exact same way. And we measure the response the exact same way. And so it takes a little while to get that message out there for guys to understand that yes, selection is hard. But we do it for a reason. We may not tell you what the reason is. We're not going to tell you the standards, but we do it for a reason and it works. So that's sort of the overall message.
My favorite evolution is watching guys, as I was an instructor, you get these phone calls. Like I would get, guys would call me mad. Like team friends of mine, they would call me and they'd be like, what the fuck, man? This guy can't even do medicine. This guy, he can't do anything. I got to train him. I got to do all this other stuff. I'm like, hey, first of all, man, watch your tone. Second of all, like we're having a conversation, man. Like how quickly you've forgotten that I'm a real person that's down here doing real things and that we've deployed together. Like that division, the tension, the professional push and pull between the operational and the force generation. It's always there. But it's funny to watch people that'll just be like, oh, whatever, I'm going to get in there and fix it. And I'm like, cool, tight. And then I just wait like 2 years. Then I'll hit them back and be like, hey, man, I can't help but notice this program that you said was totally bunk is well, actually, like, okay, there's a lot of backsides that they're doing a lot of good
things.
Here's
what you don't know, bro.
It's hey, man, like you guys have forgotten what it's like to be kind of like out of the space. But like, no, bro, I'm just so much further down the path. Like it is the classic like Dunning-Kruger effect of okay, ignorance breeds arrogance, which breeds a willingness to learn, which gets you to true knowledge. It's just hilarious. And it's a frustration, but it's one of those things where, especially with younger instructors, I'd be like, bro, get the instructor duty out early. When you get a couple deployments out and then go look at that school slot, because that's the way. Because guys will be like, oh, I want to take, I'll take my instructor assignment kind of like, senior E6, junior E7. No, that's what's going to end your career because you're going to make rank. And then they'll be like, you're already working a staff position. Great. Now you go off and you'll never see team again.
I'm sitting right here, Aaron. That's hurtful.
I did it the other way. So obviously I felt good. I got my instructor assignment out of the way and then I was able to get one more deployment after that.
Well, that's how I did it. I didn't come back to the schoolhouse till very late in my career. And I thought I knew what SWIC did for us. And everyone thinks that for us, they think that SWIC is just the selection and the Q course. And the reality of it is SWIC is a massive beast. They do that. So for us, SWIC stands for Special Warfare Center and School. Everyone only knows about the school, and the only schools they know about are the cool guy ones like selection, the Q course, free fall, and combat dive. Nobody knows what the center does. The center has proponency. They do doctrine. They do coordination with the big military. I mean, that thing alone is a fucking massive beast that just like consumes an organization. There's a reason why some bureaucracies are so bureaucratic, because they have to be to fight off other bureaucracies. So there's the center part of it, and then there's what the rest of the school does and like why we do things. That answer of why we do these things is so critical. Like, so for example, I'll give you a classic example. There used to be a requirement in the Q course for guys to do 7 pull-ups. You had to be able to do 7 pull-ups. Doesn't sound big, but for whatever it is, had to do 7 pull-ups. And we had a guy come through. He was a prior service, is enlisted SF guy, Silver Star, combat veteran, war hero, by every measure, a great dude. And he went to OCS, got his commission, and was coming back through the Q course. For us, if you go through as an enlisted guy and you want to do it as an officer, you have to go back through parts of the Q course because there's extra training you got to do. So he's coming back through. There you go. Yeah. So he's coming back through as an officer, and he was combat wounded in his shoulder, and he was physically unable to do a dead hang pull up. So he was physically, his body would not let him come do a dead hang because he was combat. He's shot in the arm by an AK. So he's going through the Q course, and they say you got to do, it's like halfway through the core course, they say you got to do 7 pull-ups in order to continue on in the training. And he can't do them. And so here's a dude that's, a Silver Star earner, combat veteran, well respected across the community, and he physically can't do it. And they drop him from the course. And it's like, okay, what the fuck is going on here?
Why?
And he had a lot of friends in high places. So that was really the beginning of the, hey, let's dig into this, why we do things. And, we started looking like, why do we do 7 pull-ups? Why, number one, why do we do pull-ups? Why do we do 7 pull-ups? And I was one of the guys that did the investigation. So we sleuthed this thing out. And what we figured out is that we do 7 pull-ups at the Q course because we consider it initial entry training, much like airborne school, and airborne school requires pull-ups and they require 6. So if they do 6, then we're going to do 7. That's why we're going to do it. And it was
so we did the exact same thing at our selection, like our times and stuff. Like, so the Air Force used to have to go to Army Combat Dive School. And that was the biggest washout because the Air Force was sending 18, 19-year-old kids to Combat Dive School to go through as pararescue men.
I loved having those guys there, man. They're the only dudes that could sing cadence.
Yeah, 100%. Well, it's because we're in better shape than you, and those runs actually aren't that tough.
100%.
That's exactly why it's because we're just objectively better. But I mean, guys would always get hit. There's so many of our standards, so many of our standards were like, why do we do this? Well, because the Army required, it's the exact same thing. Why do we do 55 push-ups? Oh, because at dive school, the Army requires 50, and we want to make sure that
there you go.
Because they're going to take 5 away from you. And I'm like, that is fucking retarded, guys. That doesn't make 13 pull-ups. Why do we do 13 pull-ups? The reason that they told me when I went through INDOC back in the day, because that's how many rungs on a rope ladder you have to climb to get to a helicopter. That's a hover to climb a rope ladder. That's where the initial is like, that's why we do 13 because it's 13 rungs on a rope ladder and a hover. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense at all, guys. Like, we're not doing them weighted. You're not letting me use, if I move my legs at all, you're telling me.
Am I climbing a caving ladder with just my arms?
What are we talking about here? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I hope not.
But so many of our standards were taken from, hey, this is, driven by another school. It's driven by another whatever. And that led us to the it really was the combat exclusion, the women in service review. But we went through the exact same thing that I know you guys did as well. Where we burned everything to the ground. We're like, why do we do this?
Right.
Why do we do this? Our fitness test is a run. At the time, it was called the AFSOC fitness test, or the AFSOC operator fitness test. But it was like a 3-mile run, push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups, flutter kicks, and a swim. And a good question that they asked, talking about standards and how they got there, is like, okay, well, that's all you need to do for the job. And every single pararescueman and combat controller was like, no, bro, you got to be able to like carry people. And they're like, well, that's funny because you guys don't evaluate for any of those things.
Right.
That your job requirements here don't say that you actually need to pull somebody in kit or be strong or whatever. Like, you just need to be able to run really fast and do some cows. So
I'll describe to you a situation that addresses exactly that. And this is sort of a victory for us in that regards. Is we did the same thing when the women in special operations review came out. I think probably the number one complaint was that you heard from guys in the operational force was, if I get shot, I'm 200 pounds, 6 foot, 200, body armor and kit. I'm, 230, 240. can that chick pick me up and carry me out if I get shot? That was sort of the marker for success.
Sure.
And in nowhere in the pipeline, in either selection or in the Q course, was there an event that tested that. I'm sort of like, hey, if we're saying this is a mission, so in operational parlance,
essential
mission critical,
yeah.
mission critical task. Okay, if it's mission critical, then why aren't you testing it? Like why are you testing guys to be able to do 7 pull-ups, but not testing this thing that everyone says is mission critical? So in selection, we used to do, as highlighted and documented in 2 Weeks in Hell, log and rifle PT. So you get the log out. Everyone's seen it. You do all the stupid shit with the log. And we did rifle PT, old school World War II rifle PT. And we looked at that very hard. Not when I was in charge. This is during the Women in Special Operations Review. And we said this log and rifle PT doesn't measure anything. And it doesn't. It literally, the only RSOF attribute that it measures is perseverance. Well, we're going to measure perseverance about 1,000 fucking times during selection. So maybe we don't need yet another event. And we did the analysis. We looked at the data, and it turns out that log and rifle PT produced more injuries than it did guys quitting. So it's like, okay, is this juice worth the squeeze? So we said, let's look at an event that has a better return on investment. And they replaced log and rifle PT with another event. Okay. So 2 things. Well, number one, when they replaced it, the cries came up, like they lit the fires of aid had to go to Gondor. They're giving away the standards. I think it's Star Wars.
Star Wars. Oh yeah. Use the Force, Harry. Got it.
Battlestar Galactica. So everyone said, oh, they're giving it away because for a lot of guys, log and rifle PT was selections. Like that was the one time where cadre yelled at you, and it was kind of this, this little. Meanwhile, it was like 3 hours of a breath hold. It was nothing. But they replaced. So that was the cry, of course, and because this event was included to facilitate the correct assessment of women, the message is that they have changed the standards for women and they're giving it away, and therefore standards are lower. But
and we'll talk about it too, but this led, 2017 timeframe. There was the anonymous email that came out. It was I remember it being a huge, because I was an instructor at our schoolhouse and everything. So that obviously sent shockwaves through everybody. And we'll talk about that in a second.
I will give you all the details you want about the night letter. I was one of the guys that investigated it. So I'll give you all the inside scoop.
Just such drama.
Oh my gosh. And what you don't know is way better than what you do know. I'll tell you that right now. So
I don't know a lot. So here we go.
Perfect. Right. I can totally lie and make it up. Yeah. So what we replaced, the event that we replaced log and rifle PT with is this event called the Combat Readiness Assessment, sometimes called the Combat Fitness Test. And it's a sled drag, a tire flip, and a dummy carry. Like you just have to pick up a rescue Randy. Like, because that is the event that guys were saying you had to assess in order to be on my team. So that event, Rescue Randy, has now been replaced by a weighted duffel bag, weighs about the same, and maybe a little harder than Rescue Randy, but Rescue Randy started falling apart and all that business. So that event exists. The Combat Readiness Assessment, the Combat Fitness Test exists for the express reason of measuring what we say we need to measure. And the log and rifle PT went away because it didn't measure anything. But just because it's different, the message that guys, big dummies in the operational force says, they're giving it away. And it's like, brother, like it's the opposite of giving away. We're literally quantifying the exact things that you say are important. There it is.
You've never passed this test, guy. Like guy that, you're giving it away. It's easier. Oh, really? You've never passed this test.
Right.
You've never done this event.
That's right.
Oh, so are these people better or worse than you?
Yeah. So the default position is anytime it's different, it's easier. And the reality of it is I think it's harder. So here's my assessment. Having studied selection for 20 years, having attended it, studied it, wrote my dissertation on it, wrote a book on it, did an in-depth study. In particular, I did a very in-depth study sponsored by the command on integration of female candidates at selection. I studied that in depth. I observed probably 80% of the females. I personally observed them go through training. I know exactly what goes on out there. So, my assessment is that selection today is as hard, or in my opinion, harder than it has ever been. And there's maybe 20 people on the planet that can give that sort of an accurate assessment. And I'm one of those dudes. Who's got 2 thumbs and is one of those dudes? This guy. So I'm telling you, it is as hard or harder. But dudes in the operational force, they know what they know. They went through the last hard course. Can't tell me nothing. Can't show me nothing. They're fucking giving it away. It's like, brother, you have no idea what you're talking about.
Geez, do you have any friends left? Because it sounds like no one's talking to you ever again.
I have a ton of friends. So here's the funny part. So obviously, I'm my work is not any longer sponsored by SWIC. I am. Many guys think that I'm cheating, that I'm giving it away. I get messages I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'll say every day, but I'll say at least 5 times a week. I get messages from guys that are in the pipeline, like producing, like cadre, all the time. Hey, brother, I love your work. Here's what I know. So I have this like network of informants that tell me stuff all the time. I know I'm making an impact. I know I'm not giving anything away. I know I never give away the standards. I don't tell guys how to cheat. Matter of fact, I am constantly screaming at guys, do not cheat. Here's the skills you need to learn to not cheat. So while I know I have many enemies, I have way more allies. My inbox is full of Proton emails. So
that's I'm just so the thing that I will say that I'm extremely glad about is that we're only like 1/10 of the size of you guys, because I can't handle 10 times more of the dumb fucking comments that we get about the same thing.
Yeah,
we did have so our tier 1 guy, awesome dude. His name's Trey Free. He's been doing our tier 1 assessment selection forever. He's a super genius prior combat controller. Like he's got all the he's gorgeous. He's got a pillowy voice. He's great, right? So Trey is an awesome dude. Trey used to say, he's like, are the NFL Combine standards secret? Like, are those things secret? No, because we want you to show up and we want you to throw your A game. And this is the tier 1 guy. I was like, be prepared. Here's the events. Here's what we're going to do. Like, no, I'm not going to tell you like everything. And even if I told you everything about it, it wouldn't matter anyway, because it's an attributes-based assessment and selection. And we want to look at who you are. So there's always going to be that pushback. When you started this and when you started having these conversations with folks that were in and, going for a way forward, what was the first time that you were like, hey, I might be doing something here? Was it a message from some candidate? Was it a message from a cadre? Like, what was the first time you were like, hey, I might be on this?
I'll tell you the first time it was actually not from either of those. So probably about 5 years ago, I started posting on Reddit. So here's my backstory. Here's my right here. I'm gonna tell you my villain origin story. So about 5, I live in North Carolina. I'm right outside of Fort Bragg. We're in the hurricane.
I love that you refuse to call it Fort Liberty too. Like,
brother, you can
reject modernity and embrace
tradition. You can pry Fort Bragg from my cold, dead fucking fingers. I will never stop calling it Fort Bragg. And when you hear
there's a fire.
Brother, when you hear the story about why it's named Liberty, it gets even worse. It's disgusting. I'll go into that if you want.
I don't care. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I'm like, I don't care. It'll always be Bragg. So,
yeah.
So I live here, Bragg. We're in the hurricane track. And about 5 years ago, there was a hurricane getting ready to blow through. And I was like, I'm going to lose power and I got to find something to do when the power's out. So I downloaded Reddit. I had no idea what it was. I'm an old dude. I had no idea. I downloaded Reddit and I was on Reddit for about a year looking at stupid shit. Right. And then I stumbled across, I didn't even know they existed, the Green Beret and the Special Forces subreddits. And that's where I started getting this more refined understanding of how dumb everybody was, is that like guys would go in there like any normal person would do. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to ask a question and somebody's going to answer it. And it's going to be a highly qualified expert who has inside knowledge. But the guys that were answering those questions were all the idiots that failed, those barracks lawyers. So that's when I started.
Yeah.
So I just started saying, hey, look, that's not true. I started doing the research. What can I say? What can't I say? What does my non-disclosure agreement cover? And let me find all the accurate information that I can give. So I started making posts on Reddit. And over the years, I became recognized by guys on Reddit that I had some sort of a unique knowledge and I was articulate and I like to curse a lot. So therefore guys will listen to me. So that's when I started and it kind of started not as SFAS advice, but sort of like life advice. Like guys would be like, I don't know how to run. It was like, okay, you got to do 80% zone 2. Here's what zone 2 is, blah, blah, blah. Right. You got to do, I want to get stronger. Okay. It's progressive overload, adaptation, and specificity, right? These are standard. These are not special operations unique thing.
Yeah.
And I had a guy, it was probably about 4 years ago or so. A guy sent me an email out of the blue or a message on Reddit. And he was a kid. He was not in the military. He was about 350 pounds. And he had been following my advice for about a year. And he sent me a note and said, I've lost 150 pounds. I'm off of all my meds. And I'm making a run to my beret. I'm gonna commit to this fucking lifestyle. And I'm telling you,
and that's how David Goggins got started.
And his name is David Goggins.
His name is David Goggins.
That's so this kid sent me this message like, hey man, like you changed my life. And I was like, holy shit, man. Like that's some heady fucking stuff, man. Like I'm just some crackpot talking smack. Like I am not the leader. I'm a dude. I got a fake name. I got Tia Voodoo. That's totally made up. That's a Xbox generated user tag from 20 years ago. Like I'm nobody. Like I'm just another dude. And I didn't think I was special. Like I'm just another Green Beret. I just did this Green Beret thing. Yeah, I got a degree and I'm fairly articulate, but like I'm not anything special. And dudes started so that's one example. I got 1,000 of those dudes who reach out. Hey man, thank you so much for the information you put out. Thanks for the good advice. Like I don't have a dad. I don't have anybody to talk to, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, holy smokes, man, this is crazy, petty stuff. It's intimidating. Yeah. It's like, man, I cannot screw this up because I'm going to screw up a whole generation of dudes. If I say the wrong thing, and that's the hard thing. Like you have to be really measured in what you say. Not because, I mean, send me feet pics. I'll tell you anything, but you have to be measured by what you say because dudes are going to listen to you. Like if you tell guys that you should go out and ruck barefoot, you're going to get a bunch of dudes going out rucking barefoot. So it's like, ooh, man. So you got to be really careful what you say. You got to be right. You got to be accurate. You got to be measured. You got to be responsible, blah, blah, blah. But you also have to be real. Like you can't sugarcoat it. Like if that kid that sent me the email that he'd lost 150 pounds, he was making a run for the border. If he said, hey, listen, man, I'm 300 pounds and I'm going to go to selection. I said, first thing you're going to do is you're going to lose a bunch of weight, fat fuck. Like you got to get your shit together. Like, cause that's real. That's the reality of it is. If a guy came to me and said, I want to become a PG and I can't swim. I said, okay, you got to learn how to swim. That's the bottom line. So figure out how to swim and then you can come at me. So, because that's real. And that's harsh. Like, I'm not going to tell you like you are loved, you are special and we're going to love you and we're going to take care of you. Like, no, man, you got to be fit as fuck. You got to be faster than the strongest lifter and stronger than the fastest runner. You got to have some skills. You can't be a dick. You got to be able to communicate. Like you got to get your shit together. You are going to be measured against the highest possible standards in the most unbelievably difficult assessment environment. You got to have your shit together. So that's the reality of it. Like I'm sorry.
Well, and I think one of the things we run into is these kids are also getting advice from some folks that have made it, but there's a difference between doing the thing and teaching the thing,
and being able to teach, right?
And seeing the
that's
data
the other
points,
population, right? That screws a whole lot of stuff up.
Well, the problem is they have the best of intentions. Like you have an active duty Green Beret out there who's been through SFAS, but his experience, he doesn't understand how many gaps in his knowledge he has because he did the thing, and so he tries to give the good advice, and you're like, bro, like, love you, but you're so off.
My experience is those are some of the worst guys. These are my brothers. I say this with great love in my heart. Just because you're a gunshot wound, you've survived a gunshot wound does not make you a trauma surgeon. You may have gone to selection. You only understand your singular experience. And I can tell you that having walked with well over 100 SFAS classes, 20 years with experience, it is entirely different as an observer than it is a participant. You have no idea what goes on. You have no idea what's getting measured. So I have the benefit of having walked 100 classes, interviewed 4,000 candidates, well over 300 or 400 cadre leadership. I have also been inside. I've seen inside the black box. I know exactly how it's built because I helped build it. So I know what it does. I know why it does it. I know all that. And just because you went through selection doesn't mean you have an understanding of it. So while those guys they have pure hearts, they're well intentioned, they just don't know what they're talking about. And I'll tell you the perfect example of that is just ask any Green Beret how to program rucking. Okay, how should I ruck? So we all know that. So rucking is the number one performance event, the number one predictor of success at SFAS. Okay, ask a guy how to program rucking, and he'll tell you this week you do a 10 miler, next week a 12 miler, next week a 14 miler, next week a 16 miler, and keep going until you get to 30 miles. It's like, okay, that is the absolute worst way to do it. I can document it. I can show you the literature. The best way to do it is Field-based progressive load carriage, usually 2 to 3 times a week, focused on short, intense sessions. The exercise science is abundantly clear. That is the number one way to build rucking performance. Talk to all the bro scientists that'll tell you how to ruck, and it's the exact opposite of that. It's like, okay, so if you don't know how to program the number one performance predicting event, then how are you going to get anything else right? How are you going to get all the nuanced stuff right? So just because you've been to selection doesn't mean you're in a position to intelligently discuss and advise others on it. So you've been a gunshot wound victim. I don't need you slicing me open.
Yeah. And I don't want to like just keep, going after these folks, but I would like to hear more of your story. Like, so as you moved on through, SFAS and all these other things in your next stop, what were the rest of the things you learned that kind of gave you more nuance to be able to get onto Reddit? Because jumping onto Reddit is a big step, especially for an old dude, and you're in the Army, you can barely read,
Yep,
so
yep.
What were the other things that you did that gave you perspective?
I'll tell you the number one thing that I was really lucky with is I had great NCOs. I had my team sergeants. I had 2 team sergeants, world-class people and non-commissioned officers and special operators. Took me under their wing. I've been very fortunate my entire career. I've gotten to work with and for great non-commissioned officers. So you got to have that. That's the foundation. But let's go back. So I'm going to blow you guys away a little bit here. I had a great dad. My father was awesome. No military experience, was not athletic, was not like a dude's dude. He was a chemical engineer, full on nerd, carried to the day he retired, a honest to God slide rule in his pocket. Yes. Full blown nerd. But he was a great dad. He taught me like the value of character and being honest and being, being trustworthy and all that stuff. So I had a really strong foundation coming into the military. I come into the military. I'm trained well. I have great non-commissioned officers taking care of me, and that in special operations that culminates at my first ODA, my first assignment with an ODA, and I had 2 great team sergeants and a bunch of great NCOs, and they essentially no slack. Like, hey, you're here. You're a member of the team and you're the officer, and you're expected to participate in the full array of everything that we do. And you're expected to do it to the highest level. So when we go running, you better be out front. When we go to the combatives cage, you better be tapping everybody out. We go to the range, you better be hitting the X-ring better than everybody else. So like the expectation for me was like, show up and like, you got to bust your ass and you got to produce, you got to be a man of character. You have to be able to perform. And you got to be able to take care of the boys. And that was the other thing that my guys taught me was that you are required to take care of us. Like that's your mandate. So it's like, okay. So from my earliest memories of being a person all the way up through my cracking out of my special operations egg, I had a very strong foundation of selfless service, competence, and character. And I carried that with me to this day. I stopped being a man of character about a week ago. So F you guys, but,
perfect. Good.
But I, so like none of that, what I've just described to you is like special operations unique. Again, this is just human nature. So I always say we make good Green Berets from good soldiers. We make good soldiers from good citizens. We make good citizens from good men. So learn to be a good man. That's it. So if you can learn to be a good man, I'll train you the rest. So I got lucky. I got trained in the rest. I got the opportunity to go to amazing deployments all over the world. I got to go to every school I ever wanted to do. I got all the cool guy badges. I got to do all that stuff. And every assignment that I got along the way reinforced those lessons. When I came to JSOC mid-career, I got to learn those lessons again. When I went to the Special Warfare Center for my sunset career, I got to learn those lessons again. I had great people working for me. Everyone mentored me. I got just the right amount of tough love. So I had a full career of that. So when I retired in 2013 and went into academia, I carried that with me, those attributes with me. And I wanted to study more of it. I thought, and I knew intrinsically that this thing called selection, this lifestyle, this gateway to the lifestyle of special operations for a Green Beret is a good thing. And I want to learn more about it. I want to make the way that the SF regiment is good. I want to make every organization, everything I ever touch be just as good. How do I do that? I got to figure that out. So I did that. And what I discovered is that there are these universal truths, right? We select for probably the same things you guys select for, the same things the SEALs select for. You do it in a different modality. SEALs do it in the beach. You guys do it in the pool. We do it out at Camp McCall, but we're measuring many of the same things. And so in those universal truths, there is some things that we can benefit from as a whole. Now, jump forward to that email I told you about where this kid tells me, hey, you probably, he literally told me, I think you saved my life. Like, holy fuck, man, that's pretty heady. So in the intervening years, in the last few years, particularly since I published the book, I'm a public figure. Guys know my name. My name is associated with me. I have a website, tiafudu.com. My picture's on there. My name is on there. Everyone knows who I am. I'm easily attackable. But I'm also easily reachable. And I have guys, we have, you guys have probably noticed this. We have an entire generation of young guys. These are the next guys up. These are the next guys into the pipelines, the universal pipelines that are completely absent of masculine influence. Half of them don't come, they don't know who their dads are. They come from single parent households, usually mother dominated. They come from our education system, which is 84% female, and entirely broken, run by the government. It's an absolute trash system. Department of Education. But make me president for the day. Number one thing I do is get rid of the Department of Education and then the ATF. Maybe not in that order.
Listen, man, if you want to take the next 6 hours and go down these rabbit holes, you're talking to the right two people. So first and foremost, you fund the student, you don't fund the school, and then from there we go to the ATF, and if we want to, we get to the Fed. Fuck Woodrow Wilson. I don't know what 100%. To tell you,
brother. And I feel a certain level of expertise on education. I'm literally a doctorate in education. Like I know what the fuck I'm talking about. So get rid of it. So off my soapbox. So I'm encountering this population of kids that want to do good. They want to be part of the brotherhood, and they have no idea how to get here. They've been raised by a mom. They didn't get to play contact sports. They didn't get to skin their knees and drink out of a hose the way we did, proverbially or literally. So in writing this book and in being online and in being this presence, I feel like in many ways I have filled a role as the masculine figure. I won't say the father figure because then all the weirdos will say daddy, and that's just fucking weird. So
I don't know why you even had to say it. Like we knew it in our heads. Like
you two were thinking it.
Well, yeah, that's what words are.
This podcast.
Yeah, that's what words are, Doc. You're like, yeah, it's like when you
Daddy Wally.
Yeah. Ooh, daddy. Ooh, daddy.
So I feel that role, and you guys have too. Look, I've listened to the podcast, and
I hear the
way you speak to it. Hey. I'm the one. Well, only every other one. I don't want it to go to your heads. And I'm sure as shit not subscribing.
No, yeah, don't bother doing that.
So all these guys do. This is what Jay Dorlius, Green Beret Chronicles does. This is what Taylor Starch does. This is what all these guys do. Like these are good dudes. They have a level of expertise in a specific domain. Listen to Taylor Starch for 20 minutes. If you don't think that dude knows what he's talking about in fitness, like you're smoking crack. Like that
he's a mad scientist, yeah.
And he's 100% willing to tell you. Like, holy smokes, what an amazing asset. Jay Dorlius, that guy. I was, I listened to his podcast with you guys, and I was impressed with his message. Sort of, and it is a lot of kind of what I'm saying. Like these young dudes, they don't know what they're doing. They need help. They need mentorship. They need guidance. Like, man, we have a real vacuum of mentorship and manliness that we need to bring back. Like even if you didn't make a single nickel off any t-shirt you sold or any podcast that you made, it would still be a worthy endeavor. Like, because we have committed to the defense of this nation. We literally put our lives on the line for it in the most difficult way possible. We didn't just serve, we served in special operations. Like that's as hard as it gets. And like that desire to serve and to make your nation great doesn't go away just because you retire. It certainly didn't go away from me. Like I want to keep serving. And the one way I can see myself, like my back is broken. I can't ruck and run the way I used to. Pretty close, but not like I used to. So the other way I can serve out, like I still keep in my backyard, I keep a helipad clear in case the government calls me up on a secret mission. Probably not going to happen.
Never going to happen.
So the way I can make my contribution is to prepare the next generation.
Wood every morning, just in case. He's like, it's like the photo shoot. He's got the axe out there ready to go.
Yes.
He's just chopping wood, just so that they can see it as they fly in.
You can see it if you subscribe to my OnlyFans, baby. It's good stuff, premium content.
It's fucking premium,
right?
Brother.
So like the way I want to make my contribution is the only way I can. I'm a thinker now. I'm a talker. I'm a writer. I'm a storyteller. That's how I'm making my contribution. Like, that's tremendously valuable. So if there are guys, so we talked about my enemies and my friends. If I have enemies that think that is an endeavor unworthy of pursuit, then they can go fuck themselves, because I'm not interested in having that guy in my corner.
Well, the funny thing too is, like, it's never about the endeavor. It's never like when we get hate messages, man, like, it's never about the, we made a post that made people super butthurt recently about all kinds of other stuff. And we're like, listen, tell us about the message. What about the message makes you mad? It's never the message. They're mad at you either for success, or they think that you're not the right person, or they have some sort of input. It's never about the message. It's never about
who elected you king to be our spokesman. I hear that all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody did. But I'll tell you what, there was a vacuum. I'll tell you what I do know. There's a whole generation of men that grow up that don't know what it's like to hear a bullet whiz over their head. And every single day there are more people that retire, and there's going to be soon a very big gap between actual experience, just like when I was going through the pipeline. And this is not any shade to any specific person. When I went through selection, I showed up in 2002, like March of 2002, right? I enlisted in 2001. I showed up to selection in doc. By the way, failed, quit. Had to go back, retrain, whole thing. Everybody knows. Told the story 10 million times. However, not a single fucking instructor there had ever been in a gunfight. They were just guessing at telling me what I was getting ready to do. People were getting, this is, Jason Cunningham, had his event at Tucker Gar, like all these other things were happening when we were there, right? Nobody had any fucking clue. Even when I got back later in 2006, when I got through selection in 2006 and then reported to the schoolhouse and started doing the pipeline, those instructors there were just fucking guessing. They maybe had a couple of, seesaw rotations or stuff like that, but they weren't doing the embedded mission yet. PJs weren't going on target with a whole bunch of people yet. Like, that stuff was pretty new and evolving. And to have those people just be like, listen, man, I think this is what you're going to need. This is what the guys downrange are doing. Like, that gap is going to happen again, because our generation
is already happening.
Oh yeah. The GWAT generation is getting out, and we want to do, like, there's a shit ton of my friends, 99% of my friends, and me, to some regard. Right. I don't want to keep talking about the last 20 years of my life. But you know what? If we don't tell people what it's like to go deploy and to really go volunteer 3 separate times just to go kill yourself on a special operations team, to ruin your body, to ruin your, to put stress on relationships, to do all these things, who's going to tell them? You're going to have this huge gap in between people. It's like, ignorance breeds arrogance. You don't know what you don't know, so you think you know everything. Unless we pour that into this younger generation, they're not going to have it. And the time is coming.
We have to plant these seeds now, because we cannot wait to harvest these trees. We can't plant these seeds later. These trees need to be fully grown when the next thing kicks off. So think about it. Pre GWAT, you can have a dude who he could make his entire career because he did one mission. He went on one raid, 90s PJs, one thing, bro. Right? Yep. 90s
PJs. Like, what'd you do if you were a PJ in between 1981 and 2001? Like, let's say that was your 20-year career.
Yeah.
Unless you went to Somalia, you probably did a rescue mission or a hatter, and that was it.
Yeah.
And now
that's it.
You're a chief telling people how it is that we need to prepare for war. How?
And now we've got dudes in our generation that have thousands of missions, multiple deployments, tons of experience, stuff you wouldn't even think we were going to be doing. And we're all starting to age out and move on. Like, we have to catch that. And the crazy thing is that Green Berets institutionally have done a fairly good job of institutionalizing our history. I think we've done a respectable job.
No, I agree.
But there's so much more. Like, man, we are wasting so much horsepower. We got a ton of horsepower. We can't get it down to the wheels. All I'm doing is getting it down to the wheels a little more. So, and here's the crazy thing is whenever I get those criticisms, they're always inaccurate. I had a dude, this is to share some inside baseball with you. My daughter lives in Fayetteville here, and, she's a teacher. She works at a retail job in the summers. She was down at her job, and a dude came in. He's a third group guy, and figured out who she was. He knew the owner, figured out who she was, and started giving her a rash of trash because of what I am and what I do. And he says to her, she's 26. He says to her, she can defend herself. He says to her, oh, I know your dad. He's the guy that teaches guys how to cheat on the psych eval. Oh, and he says, don't worry. I'll take care of them when they get to me. And I was like, brother, you clearly have no idea what I do. No idea. Because if you read my book, it's all there. Like it's there in black and white. I literally tell guys, you can't study for the psych eval. It's going to catch you one way or the other. Like that's the opposite of telling a guy how to cheat.
Right. Yeah.
So that's a guy who was so emboldened is that he would accost, interdict, have a discussion with my daughter without me there. And he's that backwards. What are the guys in team rooms that don't even have that kind of balls? What do they think I'm doing? They think I'm just like handing out all the land nav points. Like, brother, that is so far from the truth. So
do you have those points?
Yeah.
I'm assuming you have those.
That's what people tune in for.
I sell those for a fair bit,
I had the same sort of thing. Some guy called me just absolutely livid about something that was posted or something that happened. And it took like a second. It was literally just like, hey, fuck you. Next time I see you, this, that, and the third. And I was like, hey, what are we talking about here? Yeah. He's like, oh, this thing. And I was like, hey, I didn't post that. That's not a thing that we did not do that. Like that was like a reshare. And then like people that don't understand like the very basics of your position, they're just like, oh, fuck these guys. And then they just make this thing in their head. Like by the end of the phone conversation, he was like, but like, okay, well, and it always goes the same way by the end. Like, listen, man, like I like what you guys are doing and you guys really are helping. It's just, we wish you guys would do it this way.
Right. Yeah. I want what you do done specifically how I want to do it. So I say the internet every day. The internet picks a hero and a villain, and you don't want to be either one of those. So like, I just want to help dudes, and there's going to be haters.
That's a great statement.
I get that. Right? It's good, right? Put that on a t-shirt. I want 10%.
So I'm not giving you shit.
But that's a burden. I'm willing to take that burden. I'm willing to be the villain for a bunch of guys, because I will also be the guy that helped that kid lose 150 pounds and may have saved his life. I also know that because I wrote a book and because I run land nav training and because I answer emails and I talk to guys and I go on podcasts, I know that in 10 years, there will be in every single team room across the entire Special Forces regiment, there'll be a dude in there that listened to me, and he's there in part because I helped him get there. And man, you want to talk about powerful, brother. I will be affecting generations of Green Berets. So you can make me the villain. That's fine. I'll still have the infinity ring.
Yeah. It's weird how few podcasts actually pop up based on the amount of criticism or how many people are willing to go out there and actually answer the questions and spend time. What's more fun is when you see them pop up and then you see them disappear because they realize the insane amount of work that goes into it and how nobody's actually getting rich on a podcast anymore. No. There are no more Joe Rogans.
No more Joe Rogans.
But brother, it ain't 2018.
I just want to throw it out there.
Every single
the number of times that they're like,
dude.
Yeah, you guys are getting rich. It's like, really? My brother in Christ, I am thousands upon thousands of dollars. In the negative.
The other way.
That's right. You think these lighting and this makeup artists are free?
Yeah, right. Well, so we already talked about the impact that you're making across and how awesome that is, man. Tell us about some challenges, because people hit us all the time. Like, one of the biggest challenges that we work is like working with these darn Gen Alphas and whatever else.
Yeah.
If you could talk to those Gen Alphas and stuff, like number one, it doesn't have to be SFAS specific. For us, we're always telling people like, hey, number one, spend time on your feet. Number two, get out in the sunlight and actually walk around and actually go do stuff. These are basic, man. We have a whole, it has nothing to do with passing our selection. It's like, here's what you need to do. You need to go like volunteer at a soup kitchen and get yourself some perspective. You need to spend time on your feet and not sit down on the freaking internet, except for your training every day, because that doesn't help.
Go touch grass. I wrote a whole section in Ruck Up or Shut Up, and I preach this all the time. And I am very evangelical about it. And it's just that we talked about, play contact sports, get good grades, not because you need good grades to be a special operator, but because getting good grades elicits some sort of you're able to be disciplined and have, delayed gratification and
be an adult learner, figure out,
be an adult learner. Yeah.
Follow out how to
play contact sports, learn how to cook, learn how to clean, learn some DIY skills, learn how to communicate. Learn how to bust balls and how to get your balls busted. Like if you don't know how to talk trash and get trash talk, like you ain't going to survive in soft, because that's all we do.
You know what? Just real funny. So we brought on somebody that tried to go through the TACP pipeline. They just failed miserably, right? I mean, ball of flames, right? And a whole bunch of backside stuff, whatever. Everybody got super duper freaking emotionally invested in it because some of the instructors didn't like the kid, some didn't, whatever. We decided to have him on the podcast. I flamed that dude for like an hour, like editing the thing. Like, it's just, I mean, he's a non-select. He came in the team room. He wanted to talk to a bunch of operators. He would say something. I'd be like, that's not what fucking happened, man. That instructor didn't target you. You just didn't make the standard that day.
Yeah.
To his credit, that dude took his lumps from 3 special operators that are, 20-year guys, took his lumps, and he's like, yeah, I want to come back to Air Force Special Warfare, and I'm doing all this other stuff. That guy handled himself than some of the active duty instructors that were flaming him in the comments in the open. I was like, have you never had somebody like poke and prod at you before in front of people? Like, it was absolutely hilarious.
You got to be a world-class shit talker to hold your own. I mean, that's a critical skill. And if you don't learn that skill, so think about it. If you don't have a dad who's going to be around and bust your balls a little bit, like your mom's probably not going to do it to you. So like you're probably going to struggle in the pipeline because all we do is bust balls. So you got to learn that. So those are universal.
Really good at that, actually. My wife is
fantastic. I will say, she has. Yeah, Mari's really that. I will
mine is too.
She's a savage.
I have no greater critic of my intellectual capacity than my wife. So
makes me feel like an idiot.
She was my editor for the book too. So that tells you something.
Ooh,
but so these are sort of universal things. You don't have to be. These aren't things you need just to be a good breeder. I think these are things you need to be a good human, like a good person, a good man. Like whether you go into education or medicine or sales or technology, these are things that you need to be able to know how to do. And they are so universal that they go back to Reddit. So I post prolifically in the Green Berets and the Special Forces subreddit, and the pararescue subreddit, which I do not post in, but I monitor because guys will go in and they'll ask questions about rucking, and I know you Air Force guys will crumble with a ruck on your back, you have glass bones. So who's taking advice from you guys? So you need a professional rucker in there. You got a Green Beret. I'm gonna go in there. So I tell guys, this is how you ruck, and I have multiple articles with citations and how to program and all that business. And I have found, probably about the last 3 months, is that probably a quarter of my DMs, which are many every day, come from non-SF guys, pararescue,
all young dudes.
MARSOC guys going to Ranger Regiment. They need help with RASP because there is no space where they can get that guidance. So again, these are universal things. Like I'm the expert in SFAS, but in that endeavor, I become a highly qualified expert in rucking, in human dynamics, in exercise science and injury prevention, cognitive performance, nutrition, sleep and recovery. So I wrote a second book. So I wrote the first book, Ruck Up or Shut Up. And about 2 months ago, I released the second book called Shut Up and Ruck. And it is a performance journal for how to prep guys for selection. It's a daily performance journal. Open it up. It tells you exactly what to do every single day. And in that process, I did a bunch of research. So I am not an expert in exercise science. I'm not an expert in psychology or human dynamics. I'm an expert in research design. So I designed a research study that looked on what would the ultimate SFAS prep program look like. And in that process, I did a bunch of studying. And one of the things I studied was like sleep. Like I geeked out. And I mean, on my nightstand is a stack of journal articles about like how to optimize sleep. And it's like, holy smokes. So I never thought that would be a thing that I would have to tell guys how to do, is like how to sleep, how to manage temperature and hydration and noise and the feel of your sheets and mattress. But like that's stuff I got into. Again, that's universal. That has nothing to do with being a Green Beret per se. That's just universal human performance. So that's not, that's stuff that anybody could take.
Yeah. I mean, I was talking, on, into the camera the other day about some of this stuff. And I was like, the one of the things that really helped me in my life is I had the foundation already laid out so that when the opportunity knocked, I was ready to go. Right. And so like, I don't care if you're going SFAS, MARSOC, AFSPEC war, any of these things, but like you have to, anything that you want to do in life, if you want to be good at it, if you're physical, if you're not on point physically, psychologically, if you don't have all these things lined up, so many of these opportunities are just going to pass you by because you're not confident enough, and you know that you don't have the capability to really put everything into it to be successful in anything. And I think that's one of the things we really try to get after is like, hey, you need to be ready for anything. Like, I don't care what you do, but if you're not ready, then what are you doing? Then you're not going to be ready. You're not going to be able to grab all these opportunities. And so like, that's one of the things. It's like, I always like, the only thing I'm good at is saying yes to shit that scares the hell out of me. You know what I mean? Like that's it. But like, I already had the foundation, and a lot of that had nothing to do with
what
me.
you've just described is huge. Somebody asked the question, what do you, what do you tell this young generation? One of the things that this young generation struggles with, and we've all heard this, I'm going to say the term participation trophy. We've all heard that, right? And we think, oh, these guys have participation trophies, but that is a very real condition. And what it is that younger guys, because we have programmed them as a society to have immediate and positive feedback. So think about what social media does. I post something on social media. I curate it. I highly curate it. I put it out there for the world to see, and I get immediate feedback. I get loves and likes, and my phone literally buzzes in my hand, and it gives me this haptic feedback that I love. So we have conditioned an entire generation of guys to crave feedback that is immediate and positive. Now, what about your pipeline experience was a positive and or immediate? Like
nothing.
Like you're going to get your
pain.
You're going to get scuffed all day long, and I don't know if I passed or not, but I'm just going to keep going. Yep. So like, it's the exact opposite of what we train guys to do. So of course there's going to be a level of anxiety about that. So what we have created is we've created these systems and processes in our selection and assessment pipelines that are tailor-made to be unattractive to our prime recruiting population. These kids aren't dumb. They're just different. So they say, why would I risk doing this thing where I shall not get any positive feedback? I may get no feedback. It won't be immediate. And my chances of failure are much higher than my chances of making it. For SFAS, historically, we select about 36% of guys that go. So 1/3 of guys that go historically. Last 2 years, it's been a little bit lower, but down into the 20s. So I don't know what is the attrition rate for the pipeline for you guys?
It depends on how bad we're going to move the goalpost, but anywhere in between 85 and 91%, depending on what year and what thing we're looking at.
So you are much more likely to fail than you are to make it.
Much more.
So not only are you, so the feedback you're going to get is probably going to be negative if you get it at all. It's not going to be immediate. And the chances of you failing far outweigh the chances of you making it. No shit, a bunch of guys aren't going to want to go. So it's like, so if we don't change something, and I'm not advocating for changing anything, I don't think we should change selection standards or pipeline standards in any pipeline at all, unless we do it purposefully. Do we do it for a reason? Do we know why we're doing it? But if we're not going to change the pipeline and the standards, but we know that our recruiting population is going to change, then something has to change. And my message is that should be the messaging. It costs us nothing to update our messaging, to tell guys, here is what you can do to prepare. Here is what you can, here are the performance expectations, not the standards. We're not going to tell you exactly, we're not going to give you the copy of the training schedule, but here's the performance expectations. Why can't we do that? There's no reason why we can't. So for SF guys, SWIC was not doing that. They just wouldn't say anything. So the messaging is going to get out somehow. It got out by the guys that didn't know what the standards were. They were the guys that failed, and we lost the bubble on the information environment. So in the last year, I had changed that information environment, and what I have seen, and I'm not going to claim that it's in response to my work, but SWIC has actually done a really good job of a fairly directed and protracted social media campaign where they're discussing the exact same things that I'm discussing. And I'm not taking credit for it. I want to be clear about that. But if there's a contract to be made for that, I'll take the money. So, well, so that, I think that's important. And you guys, whether you like it or not, are part of that effort for Spec War, right?
Well, we're open about it. We tell people, that's why we joke about being the official, unofficial podcast of the United States Air Force, is because like we find ourselves beating down their door. Like at this point, we're not adversarial in a bad way. We're not malicious about it, but we're like, hey, PA, you guys suck. The speed at which you guys move is not fast enough. Like this, it moves at Reddit speed. Like they knew we just revamped the course, right? Everybody got freaked out about NDOC 2.0 and we just kind of changed some things. What happens all the time, by the way, people got all kinds of crazy about it, but we told them straight up, we'd been beating down their door. We're like, hey, this is already out. People on Reddit already know about this. You have already lost this message. You're like, well, you know, it's kind of tough in the training environment, and we don't want to like let the second Air Force, like our boss.
That's cowardice, dude. That's cowardice.
We're like, you guys have, like, do you not understand like miso at all. Like you have us, your mouthpieces that are not owned by the Air Force, and we're not beholden to anybody, regular dudes on their First Amendment rights that just so happen to have this experience. What if you just slid us a piece of paper and you were like, hey guys, here's what we're thinking about doing. Now, we can't tell you that we told you this, but these are the true facts of the matter. Right. We'd be like, we'll carry your message all day.
Or even don't tell me what it is, just tell me what it isn't. I'll do that. Right. Yeah. Just give me some talking points, brother. Like I'll decide whether I'm going to say them or not. But like in the absence of information, I will only get dis and misinformation.
That's it.
So for me, that's a failure. It is cowardice, and it's a failure of leadership. Leaders have to communicate to their organizations. And if you are in the pipeline, yes, like be clear, be upfront about it. Like, so in the absence of, and if you're in the training pipeline, your organization includes all of the recruits that are potentially coming into your pipeline. Why would you want them lied to?
Everybody that's thinking about it. And this is really, really important. Yeah. And this is where like you and I are like adversarial, right? The pool of people that want to be in special operations is only so big. You cut this pie up, like this is SEALs, this is Rangers, this is first responders, this is police, this is fire. This like, they're all the same people. Like,
yep. So 77% of Americans are ineligible to serve in the military. They are too fat, too dumb, or too sick to do it. That is a statistical reality. 77%.
Yep. 23%. Take half of that for girls, and then you take the 1% that's actually going to succeed in SOF. And that's who we're talking about.
I mean, we are fighting over the same dudes. And
I love fighting over dudes with you.
Oh, brother. You and me bottoms up later. So I mean, that's the reality. So if we either accept that or we start shutting down teams, because we're going to start losing this fight soon. And I feel duty bound that I don't think we have that luxury. So my civilian academic career, I taught national security studies for the National Defense University. So I was in the security studies spaces for a long time. And so like, this is not, I'm not just speaking because I have a Twitter account and I like to listen to pundits. Like, I have a little bit of experience in this. And like, if you want to talk about a real national security threat, it sure as shit isn't climate change.
No,
I don't think it's domestic terrorism, although that's probably a concern. It is like, we need to be able to man and equip the force. And when I say man, I'm talking about, we need to get dudes that are willing to ruck up and get after it. And we are that is a very quickly dwindling population. NHS Genesis created a huge crisis for us.
Oh God, we did a whole episode. It's crazy how much that impacted stuff.
And the overprescription of SSRIs, ADHD meds and all that, like man.
And then like lifelong diagnoses. I don't know how many DMs, Trent, have we gotten where it's like, hey man, I'd love to try this out, but somebody said I had anxiety when I was 7 and now I can't get in. We're like, what the literal fuck are we doing?
Yep. And there's a whole, so my wife and my daughter are both teachers, and there's a whole cottage industry of therapists that want to get kids on these meds and get them diagnosed, and they get their individual educator IEPs. So it's like, man, like brother, like maybe just parent the kid for a little bit. Like,
right.
Like I guarantee you, I know for a fact that I got ADD or ADHD or so. I'm on the spectrum, whatever. When I was a kid, I was a damn nightmare.
It's because
those drugs didn't exist. So yeah, absolutely,
dude. This man, I'm going to rant about the public school system. It's a factory worker production program. Hear a bell, sit down, do work. Hear a bell, eat your lunch. Hear a bell, sit down.
The modern education system was designed to produce a reasonably educated force to man the industrial base. This is a known fact. Like, this is exactly what it was designed for.
That's it. And what it is now, aren't supposed to be there. You're not supposed to sit in a classroom you don't have ADHD. You're a boy.
You're going to ask a little boy to sit in a room, don't move, don't twiddle your thumbs, and sit here for 8 hours and don't speak up. And it's like, and then what do we expect out of our special operators? We expect dudes to be moving constantly all day long, be inquisitive, be energetic. And it's like, man, we just beat this kid for 18 years and they're not doing it. And we medicated it. So he was chemically unable to do that. It's like, holy smoke. So that to me is a national security crisis. We have to address that first.
Joke's on you. I was terrible in school, so I never got used to sitting there and doing anything that they told me to do anyway.
That's right.
Brother, Wally, we could sit here and talk to you forever, man. Let's have you back on. I want to do a rucking episode. You're obviously the smart, you're the subject matter expert. We want to get our folks like that 100%. So we'll schedule it right now. What I want to do is I want to open it up to you. Plug everything you got, man. Where can people find you? Where can they get the books? What are the book titles? Hit us with everything.
Okay. So the first book is called Ruck Up or Shut Up. Available on Amazon. It is a comprehensive guide to SFAS. It's the very just descriptive about what's going to go on at selection. Got lots of funny stories, tell you all about selection. What it won't do is tell you exactly how to work out. I talk about all the performance metrics, performance expectations, but I won't tell you how to work out. When I published that book, the cry went up. Guy said, "Hey, that's great, but tell me how to work out." So I produced the second book. I just published that about 2 months ago. That's called Shut Up and Ruck. And again, that's available on Amazon. And that is a 8-month daily performance journal, old school, about 150 pages of exercise science, tell you all the domains you're going to study, all the citations are there. And then it's got a daily, like literally open the page, tells you exactly what workouts to do, what weights to lift, what weights to run. Well, everything's in there. How much to sleep, how much to eat, how much to drink. Everything is in there. 8 months. And if you want to, on my website, tfvoodoo.com, VOODO, tfvoodoo.com, the first chapter from each of those books is there for free. So you can, if you want to get the vibe, what's going on there, go read those chapters. And then I'm on Instagram, TF_VOO_do. I'm posting quasi-regular content on there. I'm not a huge social media mogul because I'm old. But I post some good stuff there, and we're getting ready to launch a YouTube channel where we're going to teach land nav. So my side hustle is, I run, what I call land nav musters. I run them out here in North Carolina, and they're 1-day events. You come out and spend the day with me, and I'll teach you how to land navigate, specifically focused on SFAS prep. And that's a big problem in selection now. About half of the guys that fail selection fail land nav. So it's a massive problem. So I started this company to help train guys up on that. We run those musters every month. Tickets are available on tfvoodoo.com, and the YouTube channel is going to be an extension of that. So we're going to teach guys sort of the basics, like how to plot a point, how to shoot an azimuth, that sort of stuff. And then we're also going to start, we are just rolling out, some more rucking content. So I'm going to have a whole new tab on the website just for like rucking 101, we're calling it. You're going to teach guys the exercise science behind rucking, how to program it, what gear to use, why to use it, how to take care of your feet, the whole 9 yards. So big things are coming at tfvoodoo.com. Check that out. And I look forward to talking with you guys again about rucking. And we're going to have, here's what we'll do. Let's commit to this. We'll have face cams and cameras on just our feet. So we'll have like feet pics for all the weirdos.
Nice.
You down?
Yeah, I'm in. Yeah, let's totally do that. There weren't nearly enough homosexual jokes during this, so we'll get into the feet pics next time. Man, we really appreciate you.
I appreciate
thanks for
you
coming
guys,
out,
man.
Wally, man. It's awesome. You're doing a good thing, and just keep grinding, bro. As guys that are, walking the same path, just slightly different courses at the moment, man. You're crushing it. So keep going.
Yeah, you guys too, man. I'm proud to be affiliated with you guys. So thanks for having me on.
Heck yeah. Let's get you back on for the rucking episode. Everybody go check out onesready.com. We're everywhere where you can download the podcast. Go make sure to follow the Instagram and everything else we're doing. That's about it. Trent, you got anything?
No, we're getting rich out here.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I can't wait to sell out all the secrets just to aggrandize myself. That's what I did for my entire career. That's my only motivation. You guys found it out. Yeah. All right. Everybody, train hard. We'll see you next time.